manager. Just by way of introduction, two gentlemen that I hope you are all familiar with. To my immediate right, I would like to introduce the president of the Zimbabwe Football Association, Mr. Ngobile Magwizi, and to my far right is the Zimbabwe Senior Men's National Team head coach, Michael Nees. If we could just give them a round of applause. Just a couple of housekeeping announcements. Should you wish to use restrooms, or the gents or the ladies, they're located out through the exit. You go down the passage and you find them to the left. That is where you'll find the restrooms. We also have some drinks outside there, some welcome drinks and some water, should you need some refreshment. And I'm sure we're going to be having some eats immediately at the conclusion of this event. But once again, I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of our president and the association to thank you for being here this evening. Without further ado, we are going to invite forward, we're going to invite forward our very gracious host, the CEO of Diaspora Insurance, to give us some opening remarks before we get to hear from the Zimbabwe Football Association. So may we put our hands together for Mr. Jeff Mazingo.
Thank you. I had to walk in so that I give you more time to applaud me. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, and all protocols observed. Honorable President, Honorable National Coach, welcome to Diaspora Insurance House. All the guests here, feel at home. This is your home, this is our home, this is our home together. So feel at home, and this is Diaspora Insurance House, and we feel quite honored to host you here. When we started Diaspora Insurance about 13 years ago now, our motivation and our aspiration was always to change the narrative for the average diasporan. And our focus was mainly to do with end-of-life expenses, where people were struggling. But over the years, we've built on our capacity, we've built on our pride as a people. And I said in the very beginning that a civilization is when a people can solve their common problem for their common good. And we see this transition and this growth we've had in diaspora insurance from when we started covering just Zimbabweans. Now we cover 20 African nationalities. And we continue to grow. We want to welcome the African diaspora communities in the UK, not just Zimbabwe, to this place. We bought this place last year, and it's more than an office. It's our center of excellence. It symbolizes what we can achieve as a people. It symbolizes and gives the inspiration to the young generations that it's possible, it can be done. That's why we want the community to use this center to come here, and we welcome people who want to gather and have events, and whether they are Zimbabweans or the other African nationalities we cover, they are always welcome here. But Zimbabwe seems to be dominating in terms of events here. But it's because also when we started the Diaspora Insurance, we started with Zimbabwe, and we have grown to be a huge operation in the Zimbabwean community. We have grown exponentially over the years, and we feel so proud of the work that we are doing. I always say to my team, ours is not work, ours is a calling. We have the people who need us, and we need to serve them properly. So again, we are very honored to have the ZIFA president here, and the national coach, and also all the footballers and the parents who are doing so much to support the young children to achieve their dreams. In the UK, it's very difficult to have the time, and there are so many people who end up killing their children's talents because they can't have the time to go in week in, out, day out, practice sessions, matches. So for you parents who are here, we want to thank you for the effort that you are doing to see through the dreams of your children. It's very, very important. I see it with my own children that it's a struggle to do work and then do your own activities, then pick up with the children's activities. But it's a challenge that we have to live up to. Otherwise, we'll kill our children's dreams. And as we kill our children's dreams, we kill ourselves as a people, and we kill our national team. It means the national team can't harvest good players from here. So it's important that you parents keep going and the children keep going. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to the CEO of Diaspora Insurance, Mr. Jeff Madzingo, for your welcome remarks. And we also want to acknowledge the presence of Mama Madzingo, who is here in the room this evening. Without further ado, would like to extend the next invitation to speak to the head coach of the Warriors, Michael Mees. Hello. You can sit. You understand?
I like Manchester. It's a little bit more relaxed. How do I switch it? Is it on? Yes. Okay. First of all, good evening, everybody. I feel a very good atmosphere. Yeah. I must really say, already when I entered I don't know, you just feel it. Yeah, I think the president had the same feeling, and it's a real pleasure to be here today. I don't want to waste too much time because I make me a timer. I have 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah? And I'm always confronted with one question which I want to speak around. Here's my notes, you see. That's so nice, but they do their purpose. And one question I'm always asked, how do you become a national team player of Zimbabwe? And then I say, I cannot answer. If I'm the national coach, I cannot answer. Who cannot answer? Who can answer? Of course I can answer in a certain way. I cannot say it how it was done all the years before, or when I'm not anymore here, how it will be done after me. But what I can say is, that's our captain, marvelous, living in Birmingham. So it's very nice that it's honored by the captain from the national team. So you see, it has a significance here. So this is the question. But of course, I can only answer how can I say, how is it likely to become selected as a national team player under me? That's a different thing. So, or in other words, there is no one way, not in Zimbabwe, not in any other country, where someone can tell you, this is the way to become a national team player. In life, we all have to go our own path, our own way. And not always the mainstream way is the only way to become that. Everybody, and that's very, very important, there's no silver bullet, no highway. Everybody needs to go his own way. That's and you need to believe in yourself. That's one thing. I don't give you now a speech about scientific aspects, about the talent, identification, and many different aspects. I think this is not the forum here. But I want to give you, like yesterday, a few points which are for me important. Maybe Marvelous will recognize them. Yeah. Which are for me important to be selected as a national team player. And of course, they're not so, they're basic, ordinary things, but when you reflect deeply about them, they're very important. First of all, you need to have something like a desire, social desire, a social flame, something, a fire burning in yourself to represent the Zimbabwe national team. If you're eligible, of course you need to have some relations to Zimbabwe, family relations, but you need to have that fire burning in yourself. If you don't have that, it's not the end of the world, but it will be difficult to represent Zimbabwe. Sometimes people need longer to discover this fire inside themselves, because the most of you, parents maybe not, but the children growing up in another country. And that you have a different background than your parents, the children. And you have maybe two hearts beating in your chest, and your friends and everything where you socialize, they're coming from here, and maybe you're very, very, very big talent, and maybe even England has an eye on you. So it could be that flame is a little bit stronger burning. But I've seen also in my career players where top talents, I worked in many different countries with also big diaspora, for example in Kosovo. It's a small country in Europe, where top talents even decided to play for Kosovo and not for Germany or for Switzerland or so. You know, for example, Shaqiri, Xhaka, these are Kosovo players, you know, top players. They decided for Switzerland. But I can give you a few examples, younger players, top talents, which decided in that time also for Kosovo. So everybody is different, you know? And we are not putting anybody under pressure or whatsoever. We want to give you a pathway to find that out. Hey, Zimbabwe is actually maybe my flame stronger, which is stronger. But you need to have that. Yeah? If there is no connection desire, then it will be difficult. Yeah? That's the first thing. The second is you need to play on a certain level when we talk about a national team. I'm speaking now about a national team as the end of the development. Yeah? You need to have a certain level. Yeah? It's not, and level is difficult. There's an absolute level and a relative level. Because many people tell me then from Germany or but third division is better than PSL, the professional league in Zimbabwe. And the others say, no, this is better than that. I work now over 25 international football, and I try to compare. And it's very, very difficult to compare because the conditions are different. If I take a team from England or from Germany and put them 6 weeks to Zimbabwe, under the same condition the Zimbabwe team operates, and then I take the Zimbabwe team 6 weeks here, then the level suddenly for both teams is different. For me as a coach, it's very important what potential is still hidden in a player. A development potential, performance potential. When he comes to the national team, so he performs in a club, and what is still in him to grow in that national team? Of course, to bring someone from outside into the A national team, normally, from my own experience, it's normally the first 3 divisions he needs to play. Above that, it's going to be a little bit difficult. I had players in Germany, 4th division, they were mostly under 21 national team players. Of course, the younger the player, the different. Because if someone plays already on senior football with the age of 17, 18 or 19, it's a difference if someone is 23. Yeah? So there's again a development potential. Everybody is a bit different, but when I see, for example, the under-21 league, I watch some games, it's still a protected environment. 200 people, mostly parents and friends. They have to behave very well, because otherwise they will be expelled from the club. And when you then go to a third division match, or when Marvelous is playing in championship, there's stress. There's 10,000 people, and if you make a mistake, they will boo you, and this and that. The pass is the same, but the situation is completely different, the pressure. And the young players need to learn to adapt to that pressure. Some need a little bit longer, that's not the end of the world. Some a little bit faster. But I can tell you also, I've seen in my life, deal with players, they were captains in top teams like Borussia Dortmund, under 17, under 19, Bayern Munich, and 2-3 years later you haven't found them. And then other players all of a sudden don't stagnate, they continue developing. So again, everybody's way is his own way and different. Some take longer, some shorter. But at the end, to be then selected for a national team, you need to play on a good level regularly and perform on that level. Yeah? I mean, you play then against Osimhen, against Lookman, that's a level. Yeah? When they come with all their firepower. So, then of course, I look also on position. Someone needs to have something special on a certain position. Sometimes in some national teams you have so many players on some positions, for example on the wing, and then you don't have maybe so many goalkeepers or maybe center backs. Then of course it's easier for a player if he's a center back or maybe a goalkeeper to get into the team, because the competition is less. But position is very, very important also where you play. You know? And sometimes if you have 3 or 4 top players on your same position, then it's a bit unfortunate. Huh? But you have to accept that challenge and that position. A tactical approach plays also a role. Huh? If we play against this team with that approach, like more a counter attack, then you need a little bit more a faster player than when you maybe can dominate the game fully. That's a little bit, that's from game to game different. And you must also be aware, in national team, now in June we have a little bit of period, but normally the players arrive at Marvelous Sunday, Monday, and the last Tuesday, when they play on Sunday. You need about 48 hours reduced training to not overload them. So after 72 hours you can fully load them. That means before a match you have sometimes only 60 minutes training with the whole team. That's not a lot to integrate players. And sometimes you're lucky you have 2 sessions. And that's the time frames, because the calendar is so packed. We are beneficiaries but also victims of commercialization. Beneficiaries, more jobs, more money. Victims, less time. The calendar is so packed, so that was also the reason why we came here a little bit. I wanted to interact with the clubs, because we have in the next 6 months, including the 7 months, including the June period, the players who are employees at the clubs, who are basically borrowed to us in the national team or loaned out. If a player comes at every FIFA period, he's almost 3 months with us out of 7 months. Half a year. Just imagine you have a business and you have to give your employee 3 months away. So we want to have good relations also with the clubs, because everybody benefits at the end from it, yeah? And it's very important. Then, there I come to a very important aspect. Character, or team abilities, stress tolerance, behavior. One aspect is very important, resilience.
I said it yesterday again, resilience in that sense, disappointments, setbacks, bad treatment, referee, coach, you must be able to overcome them. Competitive sports, high-level competitive sport is not always fair and nice. It is tough. It is a competitive environment, and only those who can transform that setbacks into a continuous motivation to perform better will anyway in high-level competitive sports make it. If someone doesn't have that or that cannot develop that, it's also not the end of the world. He's still a respectable, valuable person, human being. But to make it really on a high level, you need to have that ability, that it doesn't bring you down. And I must say, this morning I was on the bike machine, a little bit training, and I hear some music, and one of my favorite musicians, actually, he had a song exactly about that. The hard times basically are fuel for that fire, which I said to you before. All that shit that happens in life, and this and that, you must be able, that it's fuel for your fire inside you to burn and to continue. You must transform all that negative elements into strength. Yeah, and it's fuel for your fire. It's strange. But all the setbacks are fuel for your flame, for your burning fire in yourself. And you must see it in that way. Yeah? And if you cannot develop that, if you can only talk about that, then you have maybe a good attitude. But character is living according to that. When it's really going bad, I met 2 days ago a young player, I didn't know he had, as a young player, already 2 ACLs. To overcome 2 ACLs in the age of 21, you need to have some resilience. There is no doubt about that. That's 8 months out of action. A lot of psychological stress which brings you down, the self-belief and all these things. You need to have that. All these setbacks must fuel your fire. Huh? Okay, then, of course, simple previous performances. If someone was playing before or qualified for the AFCON, of course, helped us. They're normally a step ahead. Someone who's doing something good for you, you don't kick out when things don't go just immediately well. But of course, the door is never open for anybody, but of course you respect what someone did for you. I think everybody would do that in his own private life also. But of course, immediate performance is also important. Huh? What definitely shouldn't play a role, and it doesn't play a role. Actually, it shouldn't play a role, positive or negative. Everything can always have a positive or negative effect. It shouldn't play a role how your background is. If you come from a wealthy family or from a poor family. It shouldn't play a role who you know and who you don't know. It shouldn't play a role if you have a social media army supporting you or media pushing you. I can also read these things and interpret them in a way, believe me. That doesn't play a role, at least with me. When we select a player, of course, we look at many aspects, like I said before, then we even look at data. There's now data available about every player, physical data, tactical data, and so on and so on. It's becoming even more scientific. And yet, me and many other coaches, we still make mistakes. But I can just tell you, I don't want to make the mistakes with intention. I'm not perfect, that's for sure. I want to make the best possible decision and to get the best out of the team. And that's for me a very important aspect. So, for example, like if you just, I'm almost finished, there's a few players, just examples that you can relate them. I mentioned him yesterday also, like a player like Emmanuel Chalai. He played the last 2 matches, 90 minutes. He was 6 times with me on the bench, not playing a single minute. Nobody, including himself, maybe he thought, that coach, he doesn't believe in me. Somehow I didn't have the courage, the conviction to bring him in. One time he was a bit too short, because the others are so tall for that piece, the other one is too offensive, and they have very fast counter players and all these things. But there came the point of time where I thought, now he must play. And he played very good, 2 times, and of course suddenly he's in the driver's seat. That can happen so quick in football, and it was not that I put him in because he's from a certain club or not from a certain club, because he's a good player. They're all good players. And the difference is sometimes so small that it makes it for a coach so difficult. It's just one example. Or Andy Rino-Bota, he's actually one from the community here. No? When I came, he was also in his club, not playing a big role. I remember that at the beginning, but all of a sudden the thing changed. I think one year he was not playing just before a big role, he was loaned out and not playing and this and that. But we had in midfield not so many players, and I found him a good player, and suddenly he played good. And all of a sudden, I think so half a year ago in his club, they also discovered it. And then he played, I think, the most games in his club from all the players. Okay, they're fighting now with Marvelous and Brandon for the relegation. It's a tight battle in the championship. But there's so many examples I can give you. There's, for example, the one player he hardly played so far, that was Timon Macho. He was before one time selected from the coach before, I saw him. He has a very strange background. I think 3 years ago, or 4 years, he played in Zimbabwe somewhere in a low level. And at least he made it to the A national team. How far, I cannot say. He's a little bit advantaged. Huh? So, how can I say? I see another player, Shane. Yeah. Play right now in Barton, right?
Yeah.
It's in the National League. For me, like I said before, he looks first three division, if I go out, sometimes things don't go 100% the way. He was a few times with the national teams under me, not yet. No? But what I want to encourage, not to give up. No? It's not that I don't like someone or this or that. There's many things playing a role. And everybody must go his own way and not give up. The things can change so quick, one day to the next, from 0 to hero. But unfortunately, very often it can also go the other way around, from hero to 0, especially the media. So, and do not let you too much influenced by the media. Yeah? Be there, you need also thick skin. Don't believe everything what is writing there. They're important, they're good, but they make their money with selling stories. They need to do that. They also want to live and feed their children and pay the school fees and whatsoever, you know, like we all. So in a certain way, don't always believe everything. Okay, that was from my side. It was very simple, you see, but I want to encourage you, all of you, to believe in yourself, go your own way, and don't let yourself discouraged, not by me or by anybody else. Yeah? Okay, thank you.
Let's put our hands together one more time for the coach of the Warriors, Michael Lees. At this moment in time, I'm going to encourage you to turn your eyes to the right to our screen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the President of the Zimbabwe Football Association, Mr. Mwalimu.
Good evening, friends. You get to reflect when you watch a video such as that one, and you think of the moments you were in the stadium, the feeling, the emotion that you go through as a Zimbabwean, seeing the boys on the pitch and fighting it out, especially over the last two matches. You could see that the boys were playing with their hearts. Now, we decided to come with the coach and of course a few colleagues here to have a conversation with you. Not that we are saying this is the end of everything we have in our strategy, but we thought it was important to speak to you so that we can share our vision and invite you to be part of a journey which we have started. Now, there is a significant community, Zimbabwean community here, And for the longest, this community has participated and contributed to the growth of football in Zimbabwe. A lot of questions have been asked as to why we are giving special attention to the UK community. And we've responded and said, we are going beyond the UK, but the UK is special in that globally is the most developed association in football terms, most developed. We were quite privileged the other day. We were hosted by the FA. They took us to St. George's Park, where the national team, the UK, the English national team meets. And they showed us what they've done. It's a whole farm that has been developed. I think some of you who are fortunate to have been there, you know what I'm talking about. They have really developed the infrastructure and the systems to run football. So UK has a special place in world football. And hence we are having this conversation with you because it is an important part of the growth that we desire to see in Zimbabwe. So we are here to share with you our vision, to share with you the journey we have started, and to invite you to be part of that journey. And this is a voluntary process. But I'm very proud, Coach, to say, to see the parents here and a lot of young people, young players who are here. Very, very proud to see this. And I think it speaks a lot to where our hearts are, which is to see Zimbabwe succeed. And each one of us has a role to play. Each one of us has a role to play. You may not make it into his team as a player on the pitch, but there is a role you can play. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it is a good evening. And it gives me great joy to stand before you and a lot of pride, not just as the president of Zimbabwe Football Association, but as a fellow Zimbabwean, humbled by the privilege of serving our game at such a critical and promising time. So we are gathered here under the banner, Roots and Dreams. Roots, because no matter where we are born, or where we are, or where we live, we are bound by the fact that we come from Zimbabwe. That's what binds us. And dreams, because this initiative is about possibility. It is about possibility. It is about rewriting the narrative of our football and ensuring that aspirations of Zimbabwean children, no matter where they are, their aspirations are no longer distant hopes, but real, structured pathways being created to the national stage. Very, very important for that. So tonight, it is more than an event. It is more than an event. It is a conversation. I thought it was important for us to have a conversation on this, because I believe when people converse, they can always find each other. There can be more clarity in respect to what needs to happen, how things are done, so that areas of conflict are reduced. The contestations, which may be sometimes, which we have in previous times found necessary, we realize that they're not necessary because there is more information that is being shared. So, perchance, maybe in the past people were not clear as to what ZIFA is all about. We want to bring more clarity. And this we are going to be doing consistently. Whether it's in the UK, whether it's South Africa, whether it's Australia, we will do it consistently because we owe it to Zimbabweans who love football. We owe it to each one of you. That's the role that we've assumed as leaders of football in Zimbabwe. And we are saying we can make football more fun. So the old ways where you had to deal with unclear circumstances of not understanding how you should be part of the national team, where information is scarce, where you are sent around in circles. Those are things of the past. The stories you've heard of players having to pay to wear the national jersey, the stories you've heard of confusion, of gatekeepers and third parties, those are things that are of the past. So today I will present to you a new ZIFA, a ZIFA led by integrity, built on transparency and driven by the belief that every Zimbabwean, wherever they are in the world, has something to offer our game. Let me just explain. You may not be a good player to make it into his team, but there is a role you can play. Football needs volunteers. In fact, 95% of the stuff that keeps football going and the activity in football, 95% of the people there are volunteers. So everybody can play a role. Some of them will be administrators, some of them could be coaches, some of them could be referees. Everyone has a role to play. Some of them can bring resources. Those of you who are parents who have children here, you know what I'm talking about. The amount of investment you have to put in to make sure that you keep your son or your daughter going to the academies to provide for them the equipment required. It's a sacrifice. Yes, we celebrate when we go to the pitch and a goal is scored. We celebrate the player who scored. But there's a lot of work that is going on behind the scenes. And we recognize that. And that ecosystem, we need to continuously invest in it. And we continuously need to recognize, as an association, we want to recognize that. And I want to invite you to be part of this journey as we work together. So, let me now share with you our blueprint. That guides our every move. That is our vision. Now, our vision is to build a world-class, cohesive football ecosystem that nurtures talent, fosters professionalism, and positions Zimbabwean football as a dominant force in Africa and beyond. And I believe we can do this. Let me tell you a little story. Zimbabwe is a special country. Just in case maybe you doubt our intentions. Zimbabwe is special, and it's been special for a very long time. There's a story that has been told by the Queen, that she had 4 countries she loved. The late Queen of England. One of the countries was New Zealand, which was called the Queen's country. New Zealand was the Queen's country. There was a country which is called Australia, the Queen's country. There's also a country called Canada, Queen's country. But there was only one African country, which was called the Queen's country, and that is Zimbabwe. Because there is something special about Zimbabwe. And I believe that vision can be achieved. I believe that vision is something that we will behold even before we die. Now, going on to our mission. Now, our mission is to give every Zimbabwean who wishes to embrace football the chance to play, to coach, to referee, to finance, to shepherd kids, to volunteer. That's our mission. It is our mission which informs our presence here today. Every Zimbabwean who desires to be part of this, as an association, that's our job. We'll make sure that if you're Zimbabwean and you wish to embrace football, we are going to do that. I will work for you to make sure that we achieve that mission. if you have a desire to embrace football. Now, what are the strategic priorities? The what? These are the things that we need to prioritize in order for our vision to come alive. What are those priorities? Number one, we need to drive growth in participation of players, coaches, referees, volunteers at all levels. As I spoke earlier, this is not unique. Of course, UK is special in that this community holds a special place in the growth of football globally. But we want to grow participation by Zimbabweans globally. So locally, we are also having various activities. We have already done stakeholders engagements right across Zimbabwe. The other week I was in Triangle, where there is real intensity about football. People love the game. But we want to grow the participation. Even our numbers, we should be able in the next 2 years to give you statistics in terms of the growth that we've seen from a player point of view, from an administrator's point of view, from volunteers' point of view, even from a revenue point of view. And we have our chairman here for the diaspora engagement. One of the things that I speak to him about is we need to grow participation of volunteers, participation of sponsors, so that we have enough resources to be able to carry out the programs we desire to see that will be able to transform our football. Then number two, one of the key priority areas is to grow our revenues. I've already spoken to that. We need to sweat our key assets and build strong partnerships. And I've already spoken, those of you who are parents, you know the amount of investment you put in our children to be able to sustain them in that place where they must play competitively. It's a lot of resources. So, but as an association, we must make sure that commercially, we are solid, we have adequate partners to be able to roll out programs through funding that will be coming from these commercial activities and from our partners. Then thirdly, one of the key priority areas is to improve the performance of ZIFA national teams with more better eligible players playing at the highest level. And I think in the UK we're not doing badly. There's a lot of players that are coming up, and it's a good thing. But we need to have this happening even more frequently. We need more players participating, whether it's in the English Premiership, whether in the Bundesliga, whether in the La Liga, even in France. It's very important, more players to be participating. And that's one of the things that we believe will help us achieve our vision. Number four, to have a regional and national network of strong competition to support our player pathway. This is very important, colleagues, very, very important. Now, in Zimbabwe, there is a work that is currently going on the technical development side, so that we make sure that at every province, we have solid provincial leagues for all age groups. But this, we are not limiting it only to Zimbabwe. We are also saying, perhaps there is need to come up with a formula or with a system to help us identify talent in the diaspora community. So we're still having a conversation, and of course, at the appropriate time, we'll then be introducing these things. One of the ideas that has been discussed was perhaps maybe during the summer breaks, we bring together young players in different age groups. They play. We bring up a Zim UK Diaspora team, right? And this particular team can come to Zimbabwe and meet up with another Australian Zim team, an American Zim team, South African Zim team, and the local Zim team, and we have a tournament. And out of that tournament, we can choose the best out of each age group. Those are all activities that will require resources, but it is important to have those strong competitions so that we can support player growth and have clear pathways in respect of how we can identify our talent. Then number five, we also need to invest in infrastructure to provide more better facilities to develop our game. For the past few weeks, I've been bashed social media and perhaps in the press regarding the fact that the national team does not play at home, and all the players are not happy because when you play at home, there's something which happens when the national stadium or one of the stadium is full, with people singing in unison to support the national team. And I've been bashed because we don't have a stadium. Now, do I want to run away from the responsibility? I can't. It's my responsibility as the leader of the association to lobby the government, to lobby the corporate sector, to lobby partners to come on board so that we ensure that we have a stadium that is usable for our national games. Now, it's important to have a stadium where we can play. But beyond just the stadium, we also need technical centers. So we are already having discussions right now to make sure that we have all these in place. At every provincial level, we must have technical centers. At regional level, we must have also stadiums and administrative centers. Very important if we are to achieve the vision that we are speaking to. Then number 6, to establish our own national stadium. Very important. And we've had already conversations with some colleagues, investors that are looking to come on board. Of course, we cannot direct the government. We don't have the capacity. A lot of times, it is the government that builds such infrastructure. The councils who build that infrastructure. Clubs, like in Europe, they have money, so they have capacity to build. Generally, associations don't build stadiums. But we are saying as an association, we need to make sure that we can invest in one, at least one, that will guarantee us a place for us to play our national matches. I know for the UK, the FA, they have what stadium? Wembley. That's the only stadium they have as an asset. And when we were talking to them, they were just telling us a lot. I think sometimes they actually use Tottenham for some of their activities because they have a very good facility. I think they were saying Tottenham is one of the best locally. Of course, there's others, but it's one of the best facilities which the UK national team uses. But it's not. They're not preoccupied by building more stadiums. They just have Wembley. And our role is to say, maybe if we have one as well, and then we focus in other development areas where we grow talent and make sure that all the other aspects of the game keep moving forward. Then number 7, one of the other priority areas that we're looking at is to accelerate the growth and development of women's game and on and off the pitch and become a force to reckon in Africa. And women football is important. Women are very consistent. Very, very important. If we are to achieve the growth we desire to see, it's important to also develop the girl child so that they can participate and to grow. And fortunately, there is a lot of good support that is coming through from FIFA. Budgets that have been set aside, that if we organize ourselves better, we can grow ourselves and we can grow as a football community and achieve our vision. Now, number 8 is to restore the image and reputation of ZIFA and establish trust in our brand. I think one of the things that the older folk here would agree with is the fact that the ZIFA brand for the longest has been looked at in contempt, or maybe wrongfully or rightfully. We cannot comment further, but that's the situation which was on the ground in as far as the brand is concerned. There are stories that have been told about this brand, but we believe that if we restore the image and the reputation of ZIFA, it will help us to achieve our vision and our mission. So, what are the key enablers? What are the key enablers? The things that we need to do. How do we achieve the vision? I'll quickly run through this. So we need a fully aligned ZIFA with staff and members all focused on delivery of our strategic objectives. Very important that there is alignment right across. So we have made decisions to come and talk to you. It's important that there is alignment within the stakeholders. You are important stakeholders. So we need that alignment. But more so, even back at home, with the affiliates that are in the various provinces, that alignment is important so that we can achieve our objectives. And number two, now, capacity development across ZIFA staff and regions, to use every opportunity for growth. One of the things that we've already started working on is with the Midland State University, we've signed an MOU, and one of the things that we're going to require for people who are participating in administration of football is that they must then go to school and learn how to do it more effectively, because it's become so competitive. We cannot just do it because I love football, I'm just going to become an administrator. You need, obviously, to have the best skills and to understand that there is a bit of science behind it. So we are encouraging all administrators right across Zimbabwe to participate. So we need to build capacity so that we can compete at the highest level globally. Number three, now transforming our systems and using data to drive insights and make better decisions. The coach was talking to you right now earlier to say science also plays a huge part, even for his decision making. He's going to be using a lot of science, even when identifying players, using science. We have been speaking to our colleagues in South Africa at ZIFA. They have a program called INGAP, which is a software which was developed locally, which feeds into the FIFA Connect. So globally, FIFA has a software that we use as FAs, and we obviously put our data through FIFA Connect. But what the South Africans did, they developed their own, which goes further than just what FIFA offers, so that they can really monitor every player everywhere, referees, and everyone who's participating in the football ecosystem, and collect data on how they played on a daily basis. Now, we are going in that direction. Currently, I think in our matches, we try and make sure that we use a lot of technology to be able to assess and make sure that the decisions which are made, they are sound. So, it is important for us as an association to make sure that we use technology and data. Yes, we are in Zimbabwe, but we will realize that in the next few years, we will be probably using the same technology that's being used in Europe. And that is something that even the coaches have really been pushing me to say, President, we need to make sure that we are at the same level with colleagues in Europe. Then number four, we are looking at strengthening our administration with the right people, systems and processes underpinned under good governance. I think the issue of governance is important. If volunteers are to come on board, if sponsors are to come on board and put in their resources, they need to be guaranteed that at least these resources are going to be deployed where they should be deployed. The last thing you want to hear is that the president has bought a private jet from monies that have been donated to help the young people, to transform football. That would be unfortunate. And under my watch, that will never happen. Because I believe we are on a journey that will get us somewhere where we can all be proud. Number five, more and better quality stakeholder engagement. Very important. This is critical. In this modern day era, it's important to be able to communicate, to engage and have conversations and discuss issues. We don't always do things correctly, we don't always get it right. But when we have a conversation, you can guide us in areas where we are making mistakes. So this is important. For us to achieve the vision, we must have honest conversation. Continuously. Whenever you feel that there's something that is not going right, have an honest conversation. If you are sincere, I assure you, that conversation will help growth and transformation of football in Zimbabwe. The other point, number 6, we are looking at building strong partnerships, especially with government and the private sector, to grow football. We got banned a few years back because I think the association at that time was having issues with the government. I think there was an issue which was happening about some females, referees, issues that were been cited. But of course, that relationship between the FA and the government was not cordial because they were not agreeing or seeing things in the same way, and it became a problem. It's impossible to run an effective football association when you are not conversing well with the corporate, conversing well with the government, because that cooperation is important. We need to cooperate with the schools, the NASH and the NAF, the primary schools and the secondary schools. That's where our grassroots are. So if the FA has no relationship with the government, how do we implement programs? How do we become more effective? How do we get everyone to participate? It will never happen. So it's important to make sure that we have strong partnerships. Then, number 7, ensuring that effective communication is at the heart of everything we do. Sometimes people have warned me that Magwizi, you over-communicate. People are going to think that you're a joke. And there's always all manner of people opinions that come through, which is okay. But I'm happy if people understand where we are and where we are trying to go. And those who want to be part of the journey, they can join the journey because they know exactly where we are going and what we intend to do in that journey. Then, number 8, we're looking at a ruthless focus on implementing our plans and tracking our performance. So, we are actually, in the next few weeks, one of the officers is going to be, we're going to put them into the position where their role is to be a monitor, implementation monitoring officer. And their role really is to really tick the boxes of all the things that we commit to. So that if a sponsor perchance has come with the resources that have been put into a project, we can tick that project. And interestingly, 2 weeks ago we had the UN come to speak to us regarding a joint implementation of a program in the grassroots. And that was exciting because they could see where we are and where we're trying to go. And that belief that we can execute programs, because at that level, they want to see execution. So it's important. It's one thing to just talk, because talk is cheap. What is critical is implementation. It's important. Now, the coach will tell you when he goes on the pitch, it's about presenting ourselves, of course, and scoring the goal. Most importantly, that's how you don't get relegated. Namandlas can tell you about relegation. It's important to implement what you have planned. So it's important to have a ruthless focus on implementing our plans and tracking our performance. And we will do this sincerely. In the next 2 weeks, you probably, we're going to do a publication in the newspapers over the past what we've done over the past 3 months, like a quarterly review, just to showcase the resources we received, the activities we've been involved in, and how all that is fed, so that people can see and can decide to participate more or to hold back. But our intention is to make sure that we are implementing and we are transparent at it. Now, why are we doing all this? We're doing this to inspire our partners, our stakeholders, our staff members, our players, our coaches, our referees, our volunteers. Very, very important. Now, I did speak to the fact that we have recently come up with a committee called the Diaspora Committee, or Diaspora and Global Interaction Committee. Maybe I'll ask my brother to stand. Please just stand. He is our chairperson in respect of that of the committee. And of course, he will be mobilizing, helping the association to mobilize your participation from a financial perspective. Sometimes it might not be financial, but even resources in other ways, even ideas, and of course, even commercial partnerships. Those are the things that we are looking to harness so that we can grow our football. I'm excited to inform you that we have reached out to the Football Association I've spoken to you earlier, and the discussions are very, very encouraging. Before I came, I had a meeting with the Zimbabwean, or rather the UK ambassador to Zimbabwe. His name is Pete Valls. I had a long chat with him actually, and discovered that he once taught in a place called Mudzi. For the young ones who are here, you probably will not know, but there's a place called Mudzi. It's in rural Zimbabwe. So the current ambassador of the UK to Zimbabwe once taught in Mudzi before he was ambassador, when he was way younger. And we spoke at length in terms of the possibilities. And he can see there's young people, even in those rural areas, who have a dream to make something different with their lives. Marvelous right here. There's young people, places like Mudzi, who look up to him because he has inspired many. And the ambassador was telling me that the power of football is underestimated because it can transform a generation. It can transform an economy. The power of football. And the FA was spoken to by the ambassador, and they received us, and they are keen to collaborate. In fact, even to the extent that even databases in terms of our players with Zimbabwean origin will be shared with the FA, with our FA. So we are looking to do more to transform our football ecosystem. There is a lot of people that are willing to support us. The local clubs where some of you are playing, so I've spoken to some of the managers, they're keen to support. And they'll probably support you in your teams there. Because we believe it's important to make it easier for you as a player to make a decision to play for Zimbabwe when you make that decision. We believe it's important. And we believe it's important that we encourage them to consider and positively support that decision. This is the structure of our Congress, so that at least you have a picture. So, we have the association at the top, and at the professional level, we have the PSL, which is currently sponsored by Castle. It's a brand in Zimbabwe. I think it's also in South Africa. Castle? Yeah. Is it? Do we have Castle here? Do we have Castle here? Okay, there's no Castle here. So, so the Castle, the women. There's also have the women league. We're still trying to find them a sponsor. A story happened a few weeks ago when the league was supposed to start and we're not yet secured a sponsor. It was still, of course, trying to secure a sponsor. And called one of my friends. He said, no, I'll give them $10,000 to get them started. And yeah, that happened. And unfortunately, the media was very unkind. Very, very unkind. They were bashing the sponsor for sacrificing $10,000 to the league. They were saying it's too little. You see, it's unfortunate. And some of these things discourage. Giving is not something that is easy. It takes, it's a blessing to have the capacity to give. It can actually be a talent to be able to give. Because it's difficult to take something that was yours and surrender it to somebody else. Now, and of course, we are saying, look, anybody who wants to participate, they can participate. But this is our structure, the professional level, those are the, and we have, so the premiership, we have the PSL and ZWPSL, and then we have the regions where we have our division 1. So we have northern region, southern region, eastern region, and central region. So those are the professional. Then the amateur level, we have the provinces and the area zone, the futsal and the beach football. Then we have the grassroots, which is the NAF, which is the primary schools, and the NASH, which is the secondary schools, and then we have the tertiary, which are the colleges. Now, we are also looking at this to see how best we could refine it to make sure that it's more effective. For a long period of time, we ended up with shells where you have area zones with just leadership but no activity happening there. So we're doing an audit to make sure that we are very effective in the work we are doing. Now, my friends, as I conclude, this is not the end of our speech, but it is the beginning of a movement. And Roots and Dreams is not a campaign per se. It is a covenant. And we're extending our hand to you, not as guests, but as partners. When I look at you as partners. And I invite you to this journey. And extremely humbled that you could make it tonight. And I'm looking forward to the future. And I believe the future is going to be bright. And just to let you know, maybe you could stand. We're in school together. He was 1 year ahead of me. We're in school together. We were in the same house for a while before I became. He was doing paints at a school called Prince Edward in Harare. You can take a seat. I then went on to Selu, became a boarder. He was in the same stream with a brother-in-law of mine. His name was Lloyd. He's late now, Lloyd Awadi. Yeah, but very grateful that you could come. Yeah, and colleagues, thank you very much for listening in. But this is the journey which we have started on, and we are relentless in the pursuit of this journey and the objectives we have set for ourselves. And I want to invite you to be part of this journey and to contribute, if you can, whichever way, whether it's through your son or through resources, not limited to money only, but even ideas. It's a journey that we would love to walk with you and as we go into the future. I thank you.
Let's put our hands together for the President of the Zimbabwe Football Association, Mr. As he said, I think this evening is all about a conversation. It's not about ZIFA just laying out its vision and its strategic priorities, but it's also about listening to you and getting to hear your thoughts, your views, any questions that you have about Zimbabwe football and how the two communities, the one here in the United Kingdom and of course in Zimbabwe, can work together for the betterment of Zimbabwe football. I also just thought, obviously, for some of you might not be familiar with the new ZIFA Executive Committee. I think it's laid out there. We have, of course, our president, and our president has got two vice presidents, Mr. Kennedy Ndebele, as well as Ms. Loveness Mokura. Those are the two vice presidents of the Zimbabwe Football Association. And then we have the executive committee members. The executive committee member in charge of legal is Alice Zeore. And then in charge of competitions, we have Professor Thomas Marabanyika. In charge of technical, we have Mr. Tafadzwa Benza. In charge of marketing, we have Ms. Kudzai Kadzombe. Projects and infrastructure, those are being spearheaded by Mr. Brighton Oshedi Baba. And then member associations, Mr. Daveson Mochen. And then, of course, the full quorum will be completed once the PSL and the ZWPSL are able to elect their chairpersons, and that will constitute the full executive committee of the Zimbabwe Football Association. So those are the principal individuals, and they are all open, all receptive to ideas, to communication that comes from no matter where. I think the only qualification is that you have to love football and that you have to be a Zimbabwean. Also, at the end of this, those of you who should wish to get more information, please don't hesitate to come and have a quick chat with me. I'll be able to give you the ZIFA contact details in terms of the email that you can use, as well as a number that you can obviously, in this modern day and age, you can text, you can WhatsApp. The association is moving towards versatility as far as communication is concerned, not trying to make it too rigid and 2 formal. So you'll be able to get that number and email, and you can reach out at your leisure about any issue whatsoever regards the beautiful game. At this moment in time, we're going to get into our Q&A. Of course, we would also once again like to acknowledge, of course, the captain of the Warriors, Marvelous Nakamba, who's sitting up top. If you could just indicate by raising your hand, should you have a question that you want to ask or a contribution that you want to make, please just introduce yourself briefly and then you fire away. We'll start at the very top here.
Mine is not a question, rather it's just a comment. I think the structure is too silent on the diaspora. We need a seat there. we need a vote as well there.
Any more contributions? We'll take 2 or 3 questions at a time and then we'll...
Thank you. My question is that you have mentioned about the importance of football, how it can change lives and how it can change the nation as a whole. But our major question is, we might want to help, but if there's one thing that is difficult, is to help from this end, just taking a single thing to Zimbabwe. I want to take 50 balls, I have to pay for them at the airport. So what we want you to help us with, as long as the ball gets into any community, it structures itself. The community will look for their leaders, those that have an idea of it, they will go and they will manage the little ones that are playing, and that will be the basis of your grassroots football. But if you can allow us or create a way for us who are here, it probably cost me a single £1 to get a football from these different websites. If I buy 100 and I want to send them so that they can help on the development of the grassroots, most people want to help but they don't know how. They're not allowed, they're not supported to help. So at the end of the day, you can buy 100 balls, take them, stop by the airport, you want to sell them, and then you end up leaving them there. And then in your next trip, you can't take them. Some people are working in schools where they can access uniforms and different things that they can give to support. So we need to help us with a place where if we find those resources, we can drop them off there, and then you can mobilize how they can be taken on to the places where the kids in the villages, they are playing the ball, but they don't have the ball to play, but they want to play. They've got the talent, but think of it, if probably, for example, Marvelous, if he was back there where he was noticed, where there was no ball, you couldn't be sitting there as the player, as the Warriors captain, and as a player of the Premier League. But sometimes some can manage to have the privilege to get into schools like Prince Edward where they can be noticed. But let's take the ball around the nation. Let it go there and do its own thing. The football is religious. It's a religion in its own. If you go to the religions where they've got the white garment churches, they dominate on their own. They don't need anybody. You can't go there and say, I'm Catholic. They are the white garments all over the place. They dominate. The same as the football. If you take it there, if the kids have the ball, if the young ones have the ball, it will dominate itself and it will do what it has to do. So let it be also on one of your agendas. Let's take the ball around Zimbabwe. Confirm if every community has got just the ball to play, not the structures, not the systems, not money, just the football with pressure that the kids can play. Even if they're playing barefooted, let's just give them the ball. And it's a play that we want to make as people who are in the diaspora. It's cheaper for us to get the ball, but it's very expensive for us to deliver the ball to where we want it to go. Thank you very much.
Good evening. First of all, I just want to make a quick comment to say thank you for coming and make us feel included. We've been asking for this for a long time. So yeah, thank you for taking the time. Secondly, it's difficult for us guys in the diaspora because we want to support the boys and the girls. And sometimes it's challenging to actually even just to watch them, even the friendlies or the qualifiers, and where do we go? And I understand that we don't have accessibility to all ZBC because I know all the games, like national games, you get televised there, but we don't have access. So how do we actually support them? Yes, it's great, you're coming here, you're talking to us, you've got a structure, but we can't even watch them. the boys and the girls. So how are we supporting them? And then lastly, I don't know if you could take this for considerations, but well, I think we can do it. The cricket, they're doing something really, really positive right now. They have like an app, right? So where you can track like all the younger ages, and you can watch their games. Yes, they might not be exciting, but you can watch. So if you imagine if one of us, Diasporians, had the chance to be on there, can you imagine how many people are going to be more participating? That's like generations going forward. So it's something that you can consider going forward. Maybe something that we can track and we can share, and that we can create our own profiles. Because the thing is, with the Diaspora, we're like one big community, and it's something that we can just pass on to the next generation. But yeah, like I said, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, and good evening. First of all, I'd like to join the last speaker in thanking you, Mr. President, and your team for reaching out to the diaspora and engaging with us, and also meeting with other FAs in South Africa. I know you're in South Africa as well as here in the UK. Because I think this is just a comment. For too long, we've become too insular as a country, focused only on ourselves and living by the day. So if we now have a leadership that is looking at what's happening elsewhere in the world and trying to pick up the positives and implement those back home, I think that's a good thing. Now, my question, I think I've got two of them. They build on what others have said. I think they all speak to the need to professionalize the management of our game back in Zimbabwe. I want to find out what you're doing about that, because it still bemuses me that up to today, a club like Dynamos, old as they are, I think started in the 1950s, massive support, they still don't have a stadium. And we don't even know who owns them, I don't think. So there's a problem around the professionalization of our game back in Zimbabwe. And I want to find out what you're doing to try and help with that, not just at the PSL level, but further down the leagues as well. Secondly, the diaspora don't just want to be involved in providing players. Football is where it is in Europe because of private investment. Most of the clubs here in the UK are owned by private investors from as far as America. So what are you doing to facilitate private investment in football in Zimbabwe? Let's have a discussion around football as an area of investment in Zimbabwe. And what are you doing to try and promote that? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll let the President speak into those issues.
Thank you. I think the first speaker spoke to the assistance that's required in making sure that resources are channeled to the communities where they are intended to benefit the young children who are playing football there. And thank you very much for that comment, my brother. Fortunately, we have, you are the second speaker. The first speaker was you, but we have something that is in place, which is why Balkore is here. He has a committee that's responsible for the diaspora and global interactions. And so there is a voice there. He reports into the executive committee and brings in all the ideas that are critical to address issues that affect or which issues which are pertinent to the diaspora committee. So that's the first aspect. The second one, I think he spoke to the issue where how we can assist. So as an association, we are an independent body. We report into FIFA. This is why sometimes governments get banned when they don't interact well with an association, because FIFA, is independent, and the football is independent, it's apolitical. However, I spoke to the fact that we are looking at having stronger relationships with government. And one of the things we have started doing, we have put together a paper to speak to the Minister of Finance in Zimbabwe to address that issue in respect of duties that are charged when it's equipment that's coming to help communities, to help them develop. It does not make sense to help those that are meant to benefit young children in communities that are underprivileged, and somebody has to pay duty. You know, it does not make sense. So we put together a paper and an argument to the minister to say, can he consider to scrape duties on all materials that are meant to benefit? Of course, we must understand that, you know, his responsibility is to govern the finance of the whole country. And he must then look into the argument to say, will that not be abused? For instance, by people who are selling balls, who then bring the balls in, pretending that they're under ZIFA, and then they're going on and sell them. But of course, we must find a way, find each other to address that issue. Perhaps maybe we brand them in a special way so that they can never be sold. And then we tell them, no, this is what we're going to do as an association to make sure that when these come in, they are not going to be sold. But another better plan, which we were discussing with the commercial team, is to actually have an investor who comes into Zimbabwe, build a factory, maybe even in partnership with Kurubi, and we have this factory where we have the inmates being part of the labor, and they get value out of that as well. And we make our own balls that can be distributed. And Diaspora community can come in on board even as investors into that project and put resources into that. And these balls are produced and given to communities right across Zimbabwe. So we are having conversations, and I'm hoping that perchance there is balls that you've put together. Agore is right here. He will be able to assist so that we channel them to Zimbabwe. We'll find ways to get exemptions for that, and that they reach the right community. I think the third speaker then spoke about the issue of technology. He spoke about technology. I think it's very important that we have technology, and it's one of the areas that are critical to our growth in achieving our vision as an association. So we are in the process right now. We have an American company that is working on our new website, a new app that will be launching in the next 2 months, month or two, should be launching it. And of course, it will allow us to be at par with the best in the world in respect to technology. And this company, you know, America, in terms of sport marketing, I think they are very advanced. Those of you who have been to the NFL, you will notice how they even do their fan engagements. It's way bigger than anywhere else in the world. So we have engaged a company, but in the next 2 months, we will see it, we'll launch it, and you will have access to it. Then, of course, there was a third part where you spoke to the issues to do with professionalism and how the game can be professionalized. I think it's a big problem because the economy for a long period of time, of course, was struggling due to various reasons. And one thing we have done is we have signed and appointed a company called Zimnat Asset Management. Zimnat Asset Management will help us to monetize and to put a prospectus together. And of course, highlight various areas of investment in football across the country. So you will have prospectus on the various clubs and the shares, share options for each club, which can be available, can be private placement. And this prospectus can be brought to investment conferences wherein an investor can decide to say, I want to buy 30% of Kwekwe United, for instance, or I want to buy 70% of Triangle. And that is the direction we're going. But it's a process. By the way, ZIFA is the motherboard. PSL, of course, is an affiliate under ZIFA, but we speak to the PSL to give them direction in respect to what would be best for the growth of football going into the future. Thank you. I think I've answered the first 4 questions. I don't know if Coach, you want to add anything?
Maybe with professionalization, of course, that's a big, for example, for me, it would be also nice we would have youth national teams, not functioning only to events, but constantly around the year on a regular basis. But
I can tell you out of experience, I managed all the youth national teams when I was in the Israel Football Association. I was technical director 5 years in Kosovo. Youth national teams, if you want to run them on a very high level, cost a lot of money and bring no income. You need, without sponsors, there is absolutely no chance to do that on a regularly basis. You can easily calculate. You have to fly, hotels, this and that. You would calculate for a youth national team $300,000 to $500,000 a year. If you really want to do it on a very, very high level, and there's no limit. When you compare it to that's pocket money, what the UK, the FA invests, or the DFB. But I'm just saying it, so you need investors, you need sponsors. But of course, there's always a way to do it better, and I think the Federation, with the technical director, is working on that. Germany has a different club model than England. It's criticized in Germany, but also praised. There's two sides of it. We have a 50+1 rule. That means every club is in the possession of the public, not of a private investor. Then they have different organization models where they outsource the professional team and this and that. It becomes then really complicated. But a club, every club in Germany, with 3 or 4 exemptions, but it's from tradition. There was, for example, Volkswagen, which is owned by the state in one of the provincial states in Germany. And there was Leverkusen, Bayern, which traditionally was a company team. So basically every club in Germany is in a public hand, the majority. And many people in England, when I discuss with them so easily, they actually see it very, very positive. But of course, an investor is then not so keen to come on board. That's why German football doesn't create the same resources as the England. But still they're managing to compete on the same level. Yeah? And it's not always about endless. You can also over-professionalize. I was recently in one academy. They had 18 pitches. 18 is a golf course, right? I'm not a golf player, but 18 you can play a golf on that. I mean, 18 pitches you also need to maintain. It's not just that. So at some stage maybe you can also overdo it, you know. Marvelous, he has a lot of experience. He went his own way. Maybe he can share it quickly. We must not also forget, everybody has his own way. There's a lot of talent also in Zimbabwe which have a big social desire to make it up. And that's in football, a driving force, that flame, which I say, that fire burning in yourself. There's also very good players. Him and Marshall, now also playing Wolves. They made it up from Zimbabwe, right? You were not born here. They made it up to the top, to the Premier League. Maybe you can also share that way. It's a different, you know, we want to bring all together. And the society is changing a lot. It was 50 years, when I was born, it was different. You played in your local club. You didn't move to the neighboring club when I was young. That was impossible. It was a sin. Yeah? It was the rival. And only now everybody moves where he wants to play football. But when I was young, hey, you moved to the neighboring club. If the club was playing 2 divisions higher, you maybe had problems to buy your bread at the baker, you know. Maybe Marvelous can also share some stories. Yeah?
Hi, good evening, everyone. No, for me, I think it's the same like what my brother said. Like if we can get the help, I think for sending things back home. Although for me personally, I think I have the privilege. I know how I can get them back home through my foundation. But for now, I think this one through the association, I think also the president is here and also is open to everyone. I think it's a good thing also for us as footballers to have the head of the association supporting each and everyone and to have the time to engage with the parents of the players, and also with the coach. I think also it encourages more as players, like you feel more supported, and also it gives us more confidence and it encourages us to give more. And also for me, I think my journey, I grew up in Zimbabwe, born in Wange and grew up in Bulawayo. I played the youth, the Highlanders, a little bit, and also Bantu Rovers, and I made my professional debut at 1-2 when I was still 15. Then I had to go to Europe at 18. It was not easy, but with the support from my parents, and which I realized here in Europe, most of the parents, they support their kids. Every time when I go to training, sometimes on recovery on Sundays, I see the parents on the touchline supporting their kids, taking their kids. They invest a lot. Same also as back home in the country. Now also with this association, making the programs, also having people connected to the association, being engaged with the parents, I think it gives more encouragement. For me personally, before when I was growing up, it was not the same like now, where we have all this support. And also I want to thank the president for his time and everything, what he's doing, he's supporting the football. Also for the parents here to be there, I think for me, to have that support from your parents, it encourages you more, like to succeed. Like it's not about money, but just to make your parents proud. Money, I think once you make it professional, it just comes like when it's on. Like, but it was just to make my parents proud. For me, for making out for the dream that I dream of course, Premier League was a little bit too much. Right? My dream was Champions League, but of course, everyone back home, we watch more games like in the Premier League. So it came like naturally because I had to go to Europe when I was young. What else now we have the chance? I think also here we have our relatives back home, and also the boys who are born here. Each and every time on a national team, they always share also with other players who are growing up back home, like how does it feel, like in the bond, I think now is more strong compared like before, like where like some they'll feel like a little bit associated, but now I think we are more together, like as Zimbabweans, like we just represent our country, we support each other, we feel loved and we love each other also in camp. And also I think it's a good thing now, like although some I think they're not here, but they wanted to be here because they are sending me messages like there is another program or what. I was like I don't know yet, but I think with people who are here we can still share with them like as Zimbabweans. And also I would like to encourage those growing up here, like whether the division you are playing, like what the coach says, sometimes football it can go, we have different ways, like we have different destinations, but as long we're on the right road, no matter how it slowly it can look like, but never give up. One day is one day. With hard work, I think one day the recognition can come. It might be not today, it might not be the club where you're playing, but the dream needs to stay on and the hard work needs to continue. And I think God is the one that can decide. And have faith, pray about it with the support now with your parents. For those who are younger than me, I think they're the ones that I can even advise more and encourage more, like with the support that your parents or your relatives giving you. Don't take it for granted. They are there for you. They will support you. They will be there no matter what. You never know, not at this club, but just keep on continuing. Thank you.
We'll take these three before we come that side.
Thank you very much. This is just an addition for your white paper. Please can you add the Minister of Education, because they're a hindrance to donations in schools. We've had sports football kids that school is waiting to accept since December because of this red tape. So I think if you can add the Minister of Education in your white paper and maybe find ways of engaging NASH and NAF as well, so that the school heads can also be capacitated to receive the kids that they're sending to Zimbabwe.
Maybe I could quickly assist on that one. Just get in touch with us, because NAF and NASH, they fall under ZIFA. They're part of our structure. And if we have communication from you, we can actually assist in that regard. So anytime Mike will give you details, and we can work together on that. We have a very good relationship with the Ministry of Education. There's a program that we are rolling out. We have an MOU with government already in that regard. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to, first of all, appreciate yourselves as a leadership in Zimbabwe for coming out here to be with us. As a mother of boys that are in football, that have been in academies for many, many years, it is very, very tedious and very, very, very tiring. So to find an opportunity like this for us as Zimbabwean mothers, where we can come with our children, and there's positivity that's being put into our children, we really, really appreciate you and thank you for that. I also want to appreciate Mr. Gore and the Diaspora team. For many years, they've been watching our boys from when they were little and encouraging us in the background. As you were saying, you know, sometimes things are not public. It's the first time I've met Mr. Gore, but we've spoken for many years as we're watching our children in the academies. We want to appreciate you very much. A lot of the times we have a myth as Zimbabweans where we are very quick to throw stones at each other. We're very quick to criticize each other and say how bad that we are. But actually, we are a good people. We are a good people who stand together. Our nation is a good nation. Our people are good people. Our children are good children. And our people, our children will be celebrated in this world. And we thank you for that pathway for our children. We believe in you, we'll stand with you, we'll support you financially, socially, whatever that it stands as mothers with boys in football. I would like to ask a request to say, one of the things that I think I've observed over the years is we get to worry as mothers to say, okay, after the academy, what happens? What are the pathways for the children? As we know, it's only 2% of the boys that do make it. It doesn't mean they're not good, and we appreciate the fact that you said there's different pathways, isn't it, for the children. But if people like Loveness, I think it's the first time we've seen you, we've been celebrating for you. If it's possible, people like the Lunetzis and the Loveness, people that are out here, have more time if it's possible. Obviously it's quite difficult, isn't it, in football. But have time to meet with those boys who are in the academies. Sometimes just that emotional encouragement, that psychological encouragement, also makes it possible for them to know and to believe that, you know what, as a Zimbabwean, I can do this. I don't know if the others would say the same. It may not be of any financial benefit to you, but we request that can be done if that's possible. Also, if the pathways are clearer for our children, sometimes they don't want to continue playing in England. Maybe they want to go to Spain, maybe they want to go to wherever. And you know, when they're playing with other players in the academies, the other players have fathers who've been playing in the Premiership, or grandfathers who've been playing in the Premiership. As much as we say it's not important, it is. You know, really, when it comes down to it, you are our fathers. You are our voices. So it's good that you come and give us that information to say, you know, there's La Liga. We don't even know. You know, as mothers, we don't know. Maybe the fathers know, but as mothers, we don't know. And we want to be able to at least take our children there so they can be scouted. Also, we don't want bogus scouts, you know. We don't want bogus scouts, you know. If you're going to be also training, let's also train pathways where, you know, we have proper scouts that come and scout and show pathways. Maybe I said too much, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to touch base on what this lady just said now. Having worked in the football industry for 15 years, I'm 34, so you can do the maths. I've been an agent for some of the biggest organisations in Europe. Mr. Gore, I've spoken to you many a time. This is Tito. It's me today. Yes, finally meet in person. I've worked for the old ZIFA organisation and SRC, so I've been a part of the process throughout. So I just wanted to come here and say I'm going to speak on behalf of some of the parents that are not here today. They've got kids, you know, playing for Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal. The list is endless in this country, all the way to Scotland, even in Wales as well. With plenty of players that are looking to play for the national team. But there is a bit of a confusion that goes on here because a lot of the parents, when I speak to them, they tend to say to me, you know, like, we know that ZIFA is not professional. When the boys go over there, how is it going to look? What do they get given? What do they eat? What do they do? Where do they stay? How do they fly? And that's a question that I can answer because I know that there's a lot of improvements that have been made. And I hope that the new ZIFA organisation and the people that are in place now, you can then, you know, take the baton on and improve on what's been happening recently because like Marvellous said, integration is a bit better now. So for example, I worked with Marvellous as chairman, Gary Sweet, for many, many years. So if you was to call up Marvellous, you know the protocol. But Gary will sometimes come and ask me and say, so how are the boys going to get to Zimbabwe? Where are they going to be training? Is it a safe environment? Have they got this in place? Have they got that in place? Is this? So it's like, it's important that this bridge is put together, and that's where people like Marshall are important, myself are important, and we use data to actually get one of the players that played in 2021 AFCON. It was, you know exactly what we had to go through to get him over there. Mr. Kundai Benyu, it was very, very difficult. Everybody slated me, everybody said, how can he play for this team? He plays for a rubbish team in Iceland, what's he doing over there? But as we all know, stats don't lie. When he went to the tournament, he was the best player. Taking Marvellous's position, unfortunately for that time, because Marvellous was injured. But again, we had players ready to slot in. We had players ready to slot in. But that's what we want. We want a squad of depth, and you definitely have to merge the two together because I know Zimbabwe. Like I said, a lot of kids want to play football for Zimbabwe, right? They really want to do it, but at the same time, they don't really know how to get to the next stage. And there's a big gap that's there that we need to bridge and work together because the boys want to play. And I know people in Zimbabwe are going to say, well, they're not playing for England, but if you do the maths, right, you've got kids that are playing under 15s England, under 16s England, under 17s, up to under 21 sometimes. Now you've got, you know, like you said, some of their parents play football. You've got the Heskies, the two boys now. Their father used to be an England legend. So if you're a centre midfielder or if you're a striker and you come from Zimbabwe and there's a name Heskey on the team sheet, you're not going in. You're not going in, it's going to be Heskey. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad player. You're just part of the politics. It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes. Nepotism's everywhere. So there's an understanding of some of these boys in this country can actually play football at a very, very high level. But the competition here is also a lot fierce. Because you can have a player that's playing for Chelsea today, and then the club goes and buys someone from Club Bruges, goes and buys someone from Lommel in Belgium, goes and buys someone from many other clubs for like 2.5 million. I worked with Frank Arneson in Chelsea when I was 20 years old. And he was buying players, the Gael Computers, the Jeffrey Brumers, all these players has come from all over the world. And then you've got a kid who's Zimbabwean who's played for Chelsea all these years. He's got no say, he's got no chance. Don't necessarily mean he's not good enough. He's better than probably 3/4 of the players in Africa. But because he just has not made it at Chelsea doesn't mean he's not good enough to play for the national team. You need to understand there's definitely a bridge that needs to be had there. And there's a lot of boys that are ready to play.
What you say is totally correct. I can tell you I worked in a country with an even bigger diaspora in Zimbabwe, Kosovo. We had every year scouting with 50 players per age group in Germany 2 times a year. We had even 2 youth national teams, a diaspora and a local. When we played in Luxembourg, under 15 or under 16, I was group in my time, we played with the diaspora team, because it was also logistically just easier. And when we played Macedonia or so, then it was the local team, and later towards the qualification process, the 2 teams were brought together, the best players from each team. Yes, the problem also was there, a little bit similar, or challenges. You bring them players from top teams like Dortmund, Bayern Munich, really top class players, but the conditions in Kosovo were not like in that clubs. And these clubs then suddenly they want data and this and this. We were in Kosovo not there, absolutely not. And the coaches were still coaches which were more or less a little bit out of loyalty, because Kosovo was only accepted in FIFA in 2017 legally, in February, in January, in February I started there. If we really bring players it's also for us a burden. We need to deliver in a certain way. Because if a player comes on a high level and he has to train on a bumpy pitch, he twists his ankle, and they ask, hey, and then they say this was a pitch, then you have again a problem. It's not always what we want, we can do. We need to grow harmoniously. Sometimes you can grow too fast, sometimes too slow. And when a player is invited from Europe, we mustn't forget also the talents there. It's a duty of the federation. You know? He must add value, of course, in a challenging environment. It starts maybe sometimes basic things like a double room. You grow up in a more affluent society, like me. Although my parents were working class people, but it's not comparable like the children, most of them in Zimbabwe or maybe in South Africa. There's also a big diaspora. So not everybody, believe me, in my experience, can adapt to challenging circumstances. It's not only always about talent. It's about accepting this from inside, really wanting this, and not just as an escape group because England didn't work out. You understand what I mean? An agent, everybody has an agent too. I knew players, 15, they had 5 agents. The whole family was agent, and in training they look and everything. An agent has long-term business interest. Bad agent may be short-term, a good mid or long-term. It's nature of your job. We as the federation have no business interest in the players. We want to bring, and sometimes there comes a little bit of conflict, you know, and then there's the club. And sometimes the players are put in between, even young players. I had phone calls with FIFA, with UEFA, when I worked in the other associations, to release players. The clubs then said, yeah, if you don't come, then you don't play. Legally, they have no power to keep a player away from the national team until the 18, not even under 21. If it's a minor, it's you as the parent who decides. The club can do nothing. If it's in your contract or not contract, they can do nothing. If you're called to international duty, you can decide if you go or not. But indirectly, they did that. Yeah, if you go to the parents and you lose your place and this and that, and the players are put in between. And we cannot fight this. I fought these fights a few times and I got tired. I said, I'm not doing it anymore. When I was technical director. It's not always only just about talent. It's about much more aspects. And if you bring someone, it must fit. And you cannot bring, I think, under 18, 20 players from Europe and have not a single player from Zimbabwe. Then the federation, or the association, not federation, association, ZIFA, is also doing something wrong, because then they forget their own people at home. I understand everything, and if a player is not yet ready to represent, we are not putting pressure on anybody. We try to convince. That's a different path. But not promising milk and honey. If you ever decide to play, you always will start. Coach then decides under 18 or under 20 or so, maybe has a different view. But of course it must be proper, in a professional, in a transparent way. But football is not fair. You say it by yourself, and there's a player suddenly from Club Bruce, suddenly is there, and your own player sits there, nothing. I'm also a parent, believe me, I've seen also in good youth clubs, all of a sudden, there comes 5 players from one agent and they're all starting, and the others who were there sitting on the bench. You also have a responsibility as agencies. I've seen it all. Believe me, the good and the bad things.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, President. Thank you for sharing your vision and everything that you have said unto us. But my question is, how are you going to improve ZIFA? What conditions, plans are there in place to support your ambitions? We have no suitable stadiums right now in Zimbabwe where our team can play in their home ground. We are relying on neighboring countries, of which I understand we're losing a lot of revenue for that. The other one is, how are you going to establish Zimbabwe's suitable stadium to host international games as an association? Thirdly, what are your core values as an association pertaining football? How you rebuild the trust from stakeholders, players, business community, and corporate world, as well as the government. Because I understand if you have got a good relationship with the government, things and the laws and legislations will be eased a bit for us, for you, to prosper in whatever you're trying to build up in Zimbabwe. We appreciate the inclusion of our youngsters who are playing in here, looking beyond the borders of Zimbabwe, and we think that's a noble cause, where us as Diasporians, we are going to support you all the way, but we want to understand what are your plans with these youngsters.
Thank you. Yeah, so in terms of unpacking the vision and our strategy, I can unpack it. It will take another hour or two to unpack it for you. But I try to go through our vision earlier on, and also try to speak to our mission and our strategic priorities, which speak to our values in respect of transparency, in respect of accountability. But I'll just quickly run down the program that we embarked on as an association. When I started out in my speech, I spoke to the fact that we are in the process of sharing our vision with you. And this vision, we are saying, we are inviting you to be part of the journey if it's appealing. We're inviting you to add your comments in respect of what you believe could help our community, because we don't know everything. So here we have a framework that is in place that we are presenting, and of course we are inviting you to say, you can be part of the journey, or you could come in with additions to say this is how you could do it better. And of course we definitely appreciate the fact that we are here and having this conversation. So we are premised on 5 pillars in terms of what we believe can help our association to go into the future and become that association that can globally compete. One of the first things that we're looking into is the issue of having a strong institution. Very important. I think you spoke about the fact that ZIFA has always been looked at as an institution that fails to deliver, that is associated with scandals. That is in the past. And fundamentally, we are looking to restore the dignity of the association. How do we restore the dignity of the association? By building a strong institution. An institution which is not based on a character. When my time is up in ZIFA, I should be able to leave it, but the institution must be able to continuously deliver on its promises, regardless of who's at the helm. So it's important to have an institution that is accountable, an institution that is transparent, an institution that consistently delivers on things it speaks to. And this is why we are now having a monitoring and evaluation officer that is ticking the boxes on all the things that we commit, even in press conferences, so that we deliver consistently. An institution that has clear delineation of roles. Recently, we are bringing in a commercial director to address the issues, the commercial side of the association. A financial controller who's a CA. We should be able to do half-year results in the newspaper for the public, because this is a public institution. There's public interest. So we are going to be publishing, in the next 2 weeks, we are going to be publishing results of what we've done. And then you can also judge us. If we have failed, you can say, you're going wrong there, correct it. So a strong institution is fundamental to where we want to go as an association. Secondly, the issue of building strong partnerships. Very, very important that we have strong partnerships. So if we have a good institution, it's easier to develop better relations, because your partners can trust you, can trust your intentions. So we're looking at, you indicated, having better relations with the government. We have to make an effort as an association. It's not guaranteed that as long as, because you're an association, the relations will be better. It's diverse. Government is big. So you have to get into MOUs, you have to present your case, you have to lobby your issues. Spoke about the issue of the stadium. Ordinarily, football associations are not in the business of building stadiums. Ordinarily. Here and there, if an association can have a stadium. The FA, which is the best football association in the world, only has one stadium, which is the Wembley. And they have a rich history. They organized themselves in the 1700s. That's when they started. And they have one stadium. Now, everywhere else, governments build stadiums. Municipalities build stadiums. In the UK and other developed countries, teams can actually build stadiums because they have the capacity, they have investors that come on board. Our role is to manage the game so that people can play football and enjoy it. But when you have good partnerships, you can achieve your objectives. It is a critical aspect of my leadership to make sure that we have stadiums where we can play. And to that end, I'm hoping in the next 3 months, we should be able to have a stadium ready for Zimbabwe. And I'm lobbying aggressively on a daily basis. I got an update earlier today that bucket seats completion maybe in the next 3 weeks. Installation will be complete for bucket seats. We have to get the pitch to be done. I had a meeting with the Moroccan Minister of Budget, more or less like a finance minister. We signed an MOU. They will send a consultant to help us with the pitch at the National Sports Stadium. And we have to push aggressively to make sure that the pitch is done. And come July, we should have a pitch. Our desire as an association is that by September, when we have the FIFA window in September, and the FIFA window in October, those matches must be played at home. That's our desire. And this happens when you have partnerships. The third aspect is to make sure that we are commercialized as an association. We cannot fully rely on partners alone. We have to build capacity by ourselves. Jersey sales for Man United are very high because they sell replicas. Our association has that capacity. So we are saying we need to commercialize, create merchandise that can be sold to Zimbabweans, both in the diaspora and at home. If we are to sell 1 million jerseys even a year at $20, that's a lot of money. Yeah, that's $20 million US that you make. So that's commercialization, and we are looking at that. And also issues of broadcast rights. We have a match that will be coming up, everything going well, in July, where we're going to have legends from Africa. Samuel Eto'o is confirmed, JJ, we've spoken to him. They're all going to come to Zimbabwe to play a legend match. And we'll play with our local legends. And of course, we're going to then have to speak to the various TV stations. And that's a commercial aspect. Okay? So there is a lot that we can do on commercialization.
Then the fourth aspect, of course, is the issue of the infrastructure, which is important. From your centers of excellence to your technical centers to the high performance centers. We need those across the country. You know, we need to make sure that our children can play football. Even at schools, we need to make sure that in school they have the correct pitches. And this is important if the vision we desire to achieve is to be achieved. Lastly, it's important to make sure that even from a technical point of view, we are strong. And this is where we bring in the best coaches in the world. Yeah, I believe he's a very good coach. Yeah, I believe he's a very good coach. And to make sure that he has an equally good technical team, technical director, who has a strong team right across the country, making sure that talent is identified and developed in the correct manner. But we're not only looking at Zimbabwe alone, we are also looking beyond Zimbabwe, and we're looking even to the diaspora. We are busy cracking our heads and come up with a strategy to ensure that even in the diaspora communities, there is a structure that identifies talent and allows Zimbabweans to be able to play football and represent their country if they wish to do so. And we are going to do it using merit. So we are working on this, and before long, we will be, of course, speaking to you in respect to that. So, in summary, those are the issues we are looking at. And we are very confident with our intentions. And this is why we are very happy to have open conversations. We are not afraid of being told where we go wrong. We believe if all of us have the correct intention to see Zimbabwe football being transformed, if all of us are looking ahead to transform Zimbabwe in football terms, then if somebody comes with the correct idea, that idea will be embraced. So I appreciate your comments, and thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I've got a different issue. So we've got kids who came recently to the UK on a very restrictive visa, one. And I'm gonna give an example to what happened to my little boy. Tracked for 8 months. Final time, they asked me for international clearance first. He never played back home. I don't even know where to start. Secondly, last minute, then they tell him, oh, we cannot sign you because you don't have a British passport. So how are we helping people in that situation?
Thank you for that. So I'll let Marshall maybe just speak to that quickly, and then maybe I'll add my comments.
Thank you, President, and our host, Diaspora Insurance. Quickly, it's an issue which is at stake, and we have discussed with the FA, and they've said it's a home office issue. So it's a critical issue that we're working hard. Perhaps maybe we're going to also engage our embassy. I think you also realize that we initially had an issue of licenses that couldn't be changed here. But when we engaged officials at the embassy, the Minister of Home Affairs came and that issue was rectified. But I think we are working hard to try and rectify that. It's a huge stumbling block. There was another boy again was signed by City, but when it came to that, there were issues. I don't know, Trevor, if you want to add, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, I guess the challenge that a lot of parents are facing is that one of business, but what we've been encouraging parents to do is just to let your kids play where they are. They don't really need to sign for Man City at the moment, but obviously they're playing for a local team, so keep them there for now until this issue is resolved. As Marshall rightly says, it is more of a home office issue than it is an FA. It's not a football-related issue. So get them playing where they are for now until things move on.
Thank you, and I think for the purposes of time, we're going to take maybe 3 questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Maybe the last 4, and then 2 at a time, and then we'll wrap it up.
1,
second. I just would like to add something. Parents, don't panic. I'm also a parent, also have children football. Don't panic when they're not at the age of, I don't know how old your children are, 11, 12, not playing 13, 14, 15 at the top teams. There's the second, I have my own, in the meantime, I created my own hypothesis. The second best are very often the best. I'm telling you. And you need a period where you can grow a little bit in silence. In a little bit, it is not harm. If the work is good done, maybe in a smaller club. There's too much panic. I've seen really that all panic and this and that. At the end, quality will make its way. And not a relation with a better connection agent going to this club or that. At the end, if you're quality, you will be spotted. Don't get me wrong. And there's so many players rejected, top players. My generation, younger generation. Marco Reus, for example, he was sent away from Dortmund. 5 years later, they brought him back, that time for 20 million. Their own kid. There's so many examples. Jordi Alba, I think, in Barcelona. Frankfurt and Eintracht Frankfurt, the best team in terms of adding value to players in Europe. They made hundreds of millions. Some of the players were free on the market. So the scouts, the agents, the coaches, they don't always get it there. Yeah? Including myself.
Thank you, Coach, President, and Captain, for taking your time to come out here. They say a journey of 1,000,000 miles begins with a footstep. And I really want to applaud you for the effort that you have made to come out and see the diaspora community. I've sat down and I've listened to what you intend to do, and I really want to appreciate it. I will not be like social media and bash you today, but I am giving you a warning that next time you come, can you come with something which is specific to us as a community? Because from the previous speaker who spoke, him and his family coming here, maybe they are first generation immigrants, but the likes of Marshall, they were first generation immigrants. They have raised their kids here. They've got some insights into how the system of this economy works and how you can harness the talent which is already there. They have identified the talent, some which is not able to play, like my brother was saying. They have been in academies, but they have stopped at the academy level, but talent has not been taken away from them. What are your intentions with such talents? What plans do you have for such people? So I applaud you for coming out, but next time when you come, and probably when you have sat down with what you're calling the Diaspora panel, maybe map up something which is specifically for the people who are here, so that we understand. We appreciate and we support the overall vision that you have for ZIFA, but what we need is something specific for our young kids who are playing here, who've got the passion to represent their roots, as your theme says, roots and dreams. They are dreaming and they want to put on the Zimbabwe bed shirt how are you going to implement that? Thank you.
Good evening. So my name is Kelvin Mashambe. So I work with Marshall and Tom as well, and I'm the Team Zimbabwe UK manager. The question that I have, I think Michael, you haven't had direct questions, an interesting question, So basically, I think this question is from a point of experience here, so I want to understand how you look at this. You mentioned, the players, when you're picking players, for the national team, and that the players have to play at the highest level possible. Yeah. I was just looking at understanding from Zimbabwe, being someone who played as well in Zimbabwe and coming into UK, their levels, are slightly different. And so if we are able to pick players from the Zimbabwe Premier, the PSL, how far can we go in terms of the English football? At what level would you think that we could pick players to play in the national team?
So the abilities of the players, if I would select the Zimbabwe local team, where they would play, no? On what level? What I said before, the comparison of the level, I said again, I can only repeat. I'm really, when did I go first? I'm almost 30 years internationally working. It is one of the most difficult things to really answer that question. There's scouts running around everywhere and they cannot answer this question indefinitely. It's very difficult because it's always in a certain environment taking place. When I look at our team, the A national team, we have a diverse team. We have a group from Zimbabwe, from the PSL. Then we have a diaspora, a group from outside, I would say, whether they grew up or play outside. It's, the one is from South Africa, smaller group, or within Africa. One plays in Tanzania currently. And then we have a group, an intercontinental group outside. One plays currently in the US from the team I selected, one in Iraq, in that area, and the rest in Europe. In a certain way, I also have to trust the football pyramid. We cannot reinvent the football in a certain way. We have to put also the trust in the football pyramid. If a player plays, say for instance, the National League, that would be the 5th tier. Is it justified to fly someone in from the 5th tier and leave someone maybe with in a more difficult circumstances on the same level, maybe slightly better, maybe I do not know, but it's difficult. Out? I don't think. And believe me, out of experience, when I was in Kosovo, the under 21, no chance for a player 5th division in Germany in my under 21 national team. No chance. No chance.
Yeah,
and we played also against England and all that. I think I can really a little bit assess it, what is needed. And I think that's quite a fair assessment, an A national team player, but this is not a rule cast in stone. There's always exception from the rule. Like I said before, character, position, age, plays all a role. But if a player really, he needs to perform on a good level for A national team, I mean, You play then against Aussie, for example, now against Nigeria. How? It cannot be, no? It's a high challenge. And the coaches here are also not blind, and the scouts. And if a player has certain level, why is he playing then on a fifth tire? And if a player is then 29 years a striker on a fifth tire, scoring 2 goals, it's not justified to call him to the A national team. Very, very simple. At least not with me. There can be a social media army making noise as they want or whatsoever. I don't have a Facebook account. This is a fake account. I get my the dosage I get, I'm not immune from social media, is limited. Sometimes I also want to read the Facebook comments, you know what? And then no comment opens. I'm gonna say, shit. Sometimes they open and I read them. But I'm happy that I have no Facebook, no Instagram and all these things. I get a minimum dosage. You can write all day and night and maybe I don't even know about it, you know? So the thing is, we have to put also trust and we have to, believe me also, players I mean, Marvelous can also say that. Look at our team. Mostly 2-3 players are starting from the local group. It's difficult, I admit, in a qualification game that it will be more. Then there's 1 or 2 from South Africa, and the rest from the starting 11 is mostly playing outside. I think that's a fair, when you look at it really, from different clubs and this and that, actually, in my opinion, it's more or less a fair reflection of the level.
So would you say, just hypothetical, would you say a League One player, would you say a League One player, say from this, from UK, you would have a look at a player like that,
Well, I have a play, I can tell you now. I met 2 days ago with Rushesha. Of course he was on my list, but he was hardly playing. He had injuries and problems or whatsoever. He was hardly playing. And only since now, beginning of the year, he really started again to play regularly, now 2 times 90 minutes. And it's not only that you are there, you must also play, and you must play good. And they're fighting for promotion. This is a level for me interesting, and he overcame 2 ACLs. I didn't know that. That is for me also is a good sign that someone is managed that. And in June, that's already discussed when we have to find again someone to invite him. So League One, Chireva is loaned out to League One. Okay, sometimes they don't play, maybe he goes back to his club. It can have a lot of reasons why a player don't play. I'm also not that naive, but I see the level and the potential. But of course, a player needs to play at a certain level. I think League One is for us at the moment still interesting. Then it starts a little bit to get complicated. We have also a good team.
Thank you. We'll take 2 final questions, starting here, and then we'll have the gentleman in the middle.
Okay, I'll try and project. So my name is Thomas Tomic. I'm the CEO of Team Zimbabwe UK. We've been working for the past 15 years here with Mr. Gore here, as well as part of our team. First of all, I'd like to say, I'd like to thank the president, the coach, and captain also for gracing us with their presence, and also our hosts from Diaspora Insurance. I think, first of all, it's really positive engagement that you have, and you coming at this time and setting the right tone from the start of your presidency, also setting out the vision that you have on the. I think we are in an exciting time for Zimbabwean football. I think first of all for the coach, no pressure. We'll be there in Morocco, and we will be cheering on the Warriors. Yes, no pressure. Yes, we would like to go beyond the group stage. It's for the first time, so yeah.
It's no pressure, it's pleasure.
I think first of all, we really appreciate you coming out here and setting out this vision, and I think one of the things that we would like to say, to perhaps discuss some more at length in time is about the short-term goals, the medium-term goals, and the long-term goals, because not only would we be looking towards the AFCON in Morocco here, but then perchance we might, we still stand in with a chance of qualifying for 2026. It might happen, the World Cup next year. But we've got 2030, we've got 2034, and therefore we would like to be part of that journey as well. The thing is that you've actually your presidency has come at a really opportune time. We started 15 years ago here in the UK to try and organize the Zimbabwean community in terms of the footballing, because we saw that there was a gap here which needed to be fulfilled. And we have supported the parents and the players, and indeed, as you alluded to earlier, there was a lot of mistrust with some of the previous. I won't delve too much into that, but certainly we had to work a lot hard, and in 2017 we managed then to start to bring players engaged with the then ZIFA president Philip Chiangwa, that time when he came to the UK, and Tendai Darikwa, if I'm not mistaken, was the first player that we brought into the national team, because we had to engage with the parents and the players, and we actually sat down with him, and he had had a very bad experience in the past when he had tried to express his interest in joining the national team, and through our engagement, then he began to understand that some things we need to forego and look at the bigger picture, and he started playing for the national team. And I mean, the rest is history. A lot of your players will allude to and their parents will allude to the support that we've given to them over the years. So the thing for me is what we just want to find out now is, with that wealth of experience, because is how do we then ensure that that engagement, and that experience that has been there will then be incorporated into this structure, so that we don't reinvent the wheel, so to speak, and do away with all the good work that has been happening. Because some of the things that the UK itself is very diverse, is very multifaceted. There are certain things that players, we have helped all the players that are in the national team now, especially with, I'm sure a lot of the parents will attest to that, the passport application process is in itself a bit of a challenge, even understanding the forms itself and the questions that you have to answer. And so what we do is we actually go with the parents and guide them through that process, and that is some of the work that we've been doing, but also the fact that the parents as well are different. You have parents who only speak Shona, some speak Ndebele, and you have sometimes Shona and Ndebele parents, and the dynamics are quite different there. But also some of the players who have Zimbabwean heritage also have a Zimbabwean parent, and maybe they may have an English parent, but they may also have a different. There's also other mixes, like different African countries as well, and we also look at those challenges. So that's the thing that we'd like to hit home, that perhaps as we go forth, we don't look at reinventing the wheel, but looking at all the different people that have been supporting this process that has been taking place over the years. And I think the one thing that we did struggle with over the years was the fact that there's only so much that we can do without some sort of official recognition and some official standing. Because when you go and you perhaps go and speak to a club on behalf of the player, etc., you want to see a player, you know, they will then ask you, okay, who are you? And what's your relationship to the National Association? And if there isn't that official kind of relationship, then what tends to happen is then there's an element of distrust from the clubs. And so that official sort of recognition would be really important going forward. And just the last thing that I'd like to say, I think that you mentioned earlier on, really important, is also the women's game. And I think that is very, very important. We also do have, it's not just the boys, I see mostly the boys have come here, but there are girls as well that are playing here in the UK as part of the diaspora community. And the last thing that I'll just say is that you have really come at a time when we have a golden generation. We recognized that many years back, because a lot of the people that have been living here, the majority of the Zimbabwean community here has been here for over 20, 25 years. And so now you're starting to see second generation and possibly third generation families here. And the future does look really bright because, as you said, in England, they have the best facilities, and you know, it's the home of football. And certainly, I think if we tap into it the right way, we can actually achieve quite a significant amount. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess the previous speaker has already touched on what I wanted to ask. Young players or players who are born in this country who are keen to naturalize as Zimbabweans. So the passport, what I need, most parents will don't understand the passport application process. How do they go about it? Is there a way of a simplified way of where these kids could just, whether it's through the embassy or whether they have to go back to Zimbabwe to apply for passports? What is the process like? What does it look like? So basically, that's what I wanted to understand. But thank you so much, the coach. Thank you, President. Thank you, Captain, for coming. I think this process for me has been.
Diaspora to catch the story.
Matauriro anosiyana asi tise secommunity ngatitaurei izwi ribude kunze uko tibatsire vanhu vedu.
Please join Diaspora Funeral Diaspora. Madam Boss vataura udaro.
I think there's a brother of mine who had spoken to the fact that they need something specific for the diaspora. Definitely. Zimbabwe football needs your support. It needs your support, and we need your support in many different ways. Of course, we're looking at our technical development strategy, which of course will incorporate the diaspora, and that is in the process of being finalized. We started the journey end of January, and we are of course looking at putting in place a framework of engagement so that we get more information. Some of the feedback we're getting from you is very important in finalization of our strategy, because for me to come and impose a solution to a problem I don't know about, I think it's presumptuous, you know, and I think it would be unfair. It would be undermining your intelligence. So it's important for my administration to understand the issues, you know, and the very key issues that I think have come up. Some I've noted all of them down. And of course, I will not be able to answer all of them immediately, but very, very important. I think there is, of course, no need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in the football space. Too much work, a lot of it actually. I mentioned earlier that 95% of the people that contribute to the development and growth of football, 95% of people in that space are volunteers. Parents, coaches, it's voluntary work. That's how these communities are built. And so we can never underestimate the role you play if you're a volunteer. It would be foolishness on my part as a leader to undermine people that are willing to help the cause of football to go forward. It's not about a person, it's not about me. Remember I said it earlier on that it's not about my character. It's about us building an institution that is able to deliver for its what? For its people. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're working on. So I've taken note, I think, of the issues which have been raised. Of course, some of the issues we incorporate them into the way we strategize. But in a small way, as you have said, we're starting somewhere, and this is a journey. And our plea really is just to invite you to be part of that journey. We've shared the vision of where we want to go and the issues we want to achieve. We've shared our key priority areas and how we intend to achieve. And we are inviting you to be part of this journey. And for tonight, I think you've sacrificed a lot. I mean, the time is expensive, mostly in the UK. Thank you so much. We greatly, greatly appreciate you. And I hope this is a relationship that will continue. And we will be as open as possible. We will try and have conversations where you have issues. Mike will share details of, even if you want to contact the association, free to do that. And we will set up a desk that will make sure anywhere, anybody. And look, this is not about just the UK, but we have Zimbabweans all over the world. That desire to have attention, and that's what we're trying to do. And I explained as to why UK obviously is special in that this is where the biggest FA globally is housed. And it's important that we have this conversation. But we are going to continue to have conversations, both Zimbabweans, local and abroad, so that we have a system we can trust, all of us, that will deliver and achieve the ambitions we desire to achieve together. I thank you.
Just a couple of things. Last year, Marvelous Nakamba was the Zim Achievers Awards, Sports Personality of the Year Award, and we thought it would be nice if you handed that to Marvelous.
Are they not here, the Zim Achievers?
Well, I received it for Marvelous. He was injured, so I was there. So I thought
okay.
to bring it today.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
Then we'd also like to leave time to the CEO just to present some tokens of
Okay. So these are just to acknowledge your visit and to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
That's for you, Mr. President. Any photographers?
Photographers are letting us down. Eh?
Yeah. You do not appreciate the moment.
The moment.
This is you. That's to come up.
Yeah.
That's all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's for you. Thank you. And the last bit we're doing that.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. And on behalf of the Zimbabwe Football Association and on behalf of the ZIFA President, Mr. Murizi, we would like to thank you all for joining us here. Like we said, time is an investment, and it's a dear investment, especially here in the United Kingdom. This is not the last of the engagements. This is the beginning of the conversation. And so we look forward to engaging with you. Those of you who need contact details, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be able to give you an email address as well as a contact number that you can use to have a direct line, a direct route into the Football Association. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to leave the time to Gilbert here just to announce the dinner plans.
Thank you, Mike. We have prepared some food and drinks for all of you. So it's a buffet. I am going to ask first the top table to make their way to the kitchen and get some food. And then afterwards, everyone can go and get some food and drink, and then we interact. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
So even if you had a breakfast, as long as you can have some sort of meaning, then the rest is for the administrators and the registrar office. But in this case, one very simple the IT thing. Get the IT yeah, but because it's not a fast food, yeah. So, but does he have a, do you ever have a smaller fast food?
Yeah, when you try to find it.
Yeah, that's helpful, because that makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, so maybe just for you to understand that so we put
so they should do the things that
Right, we're going to go for now.
at the moment we're not so sure how to but also
No, it's lovely to see you.
yeah, same here. Wonderful.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Take care. All right. Okay.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah. We're not gonna. Yeah, maybe just.
Let me introduce Josh to the additional.
Yeah. Okay.
Josh, you okay?
Yeah, you guys need to introduce that.
You came from West Brom. Yeah. What was your coach at West Brom?
Yeah, this is the first one. I think maybe if I one of these I've seen a film.
I just anymore. I run the business still. I'm not being physics anymore.
I think one thing
I went to Ryanair.
No, I'd rather go with but the thing is that
Yeah, but it's a full small village. I don't work in England.
Madam, what's my total now? It's a bit quiet.
watching flying is
You know the politics, innit? It don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter how you are. It don't matter what.
Okay, let me go as well.
No, same, yeah.
It's a shame we haven't met in store.
I know.
But we will.
I'll tell you what.
Let me just pick up with
You okay? Good. Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Okay, that's good. Oh, that's